the more you can simulate the course, in terms of just, like, the hill placements and where they're at, like, in your effort. It doesn't mean you have to, like, go out for a 26-mile long run and start running hills at mile 15 to 18, but it's
Are you running a marathon? Oh, I could never run a marathon.
Sure about that? A marathon is like 42 kilometers, 26 miles. I don't understand those people.
That used to be me, but not anymore. Welcome to the Marathon Podcast. My name is Kristian Warwick. Warwick runs on Instagram, YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I would just love for you, if you are able to, head over to the app, give this podcast a review if you haven't already. That would really help me. In today's episode, we are having Jess McClain back on. She was on the podcast last spring. Really appreciate her time and everything that she shares. She is such a nice person, and I'm so impressed with her. And her career is really kind of just taking off at the age of 33. So it's really fun to see. It's very inspiring. And I also love that she wanted to come on as a part of the Boston series, where we, at the end of the conversation, talk more about Boston specific training and how to prepare for that. If you didn't know already, Jess was the best female American in Boston last year. So she really does know what she's talking about. And I thought it was cool to hear what her thoughts were on how to deal with the hills, whether that was downhill running or just the Newton Hills. So stay tuned for more about that. It is Thursday, and tomorrow, when this episode is coming out, it's Friday, obviously, and it's a week and a half until I go to Tokyo. It looks like I am going. Yesterday, I had one of those workouts where things just don't really work out. I've been feeling pretty tired this week, and I think it's a great lesson in just listening to your body. So I took Tuesday off because I felt like I didn't have the energy. I was like, oh, am I coming down with something? And then yesterday I was like, well, I'm sure, I think I'm okay. I think I was just a bit tired yesterday. So I ended up trying to do this workout that I had 10 times or 10 by K. And after 6.5 of those Ks, I was like, no, my body's not responding. My lactate was a bit high and I didn't feel great. And it kind of just hit me out of nowhere, where I felt decent in the beginning and then suddenly started feeling worse. And so for me, I think that, or not just for me, I think for all of us, it's a lesson in just listening to your body. And then today, when I woke up, I saw that my resting heart rate was elevated, and just another sign for me that something is a little off. So taking the time to just get my body back to where it's supposed to be, not really stressing too much about this. I mean, Tokyo is in 2.5 weeks. I don't really care about that because it's not like I want to be at my best in Tokyo. It's going to be an experience. Can't wait to meet some of you guys there. And I'm going to try to use that as a great race before Boston. But yeah, listen to your body, guys. I don't think it's worth pushing through with anything. Other than that, it's not that much to report on. But I was thinking yesterday about something, and that is that, as you guys know, I have a partnership with Strava. And I was like, why should people actually buy this subscription? And one of the things that I thought about, that at least I have really benefited from over the last year, is that I've gone from Strava just being a tool where I'm sharing it feels like social media, to actually being kind of my training diary, where I log all my training, where I get all the stats. And I just see it as such a big benefit to be able to get all the stats there. One is like the race predictions and stuff like that. Those things are fun, obviously. And I like to look at that from time to time. But being able to see all the data specific, and also being able to plan routes when I am somewhere where I'm not very familiar, that is a great feature. And honestly, like, the price that you're paying for this is not that much, and I think it's worth it. So if you are interested in using Strava subscription, in 2026, use the code Kristian. You can look down below how you spell that. And yeah, I really recommend it, not just because of the partnership, but as a long-time user, I think that I can stand behind that without feeling bad at all. Okay, let's jump to the conversation with Jess McClain. Jess McClain, welcome back on the Marathon Podcast. I was just telling you that there have been a lot of things happening for you since the last time we talked.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back on, Kristian. I really appreciate it. I know I can't believe we're well into 2026 and holidays and everything are behind us now. But it's good to sync back up and chat all things running.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that I think 2 days after we talked last time, you were selected for the World Championships, and I think we ended our conversation with you saying that you needed to figure out your fall because you didn't know what race you were gonna run. I don't know if you even knew back at the moment or at that point that you were running the World Championships. But can you say something about those weeks where you probably went from not knowing to all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to Japan.
Yeah, yeah. I think funny enough, I think I may have gotten the call before we actually recorded, but I, took a few days to kind of figure out life and what would make the most sense. But obviously competing on the world stage is a huge opportunity. And I had a few other Brooks teammates lining up with me, Erica and Susanna. So it would have been a really hard thing to turn down. So I think ultimately in the back of my mind, I knew I really wanted to compete in Tokyo. And then, yeah, we recorded and I still, it's like one of those things where I'm like, maybe I could run Chicago or New York. And it's kind of copy paste this year. I kind of operate in the cycle that I'm in. I don't know what's going to happen beyond Boston this year, but we'll see what the fall will bring in 2026. You never know.
No, because 2025 was quite a year for you. Like for you, I guess
Mhm.
like in December, looking back at a year, uh, did you ever expect to have that kind of 2025?
I think I knew it would be a great year. The fun thing with the marathon is like you kind of know what to expect when you're in a cycle. Like relatively speaking, I would say from training cycle to training cycle, it's fairly similar, but I think 2025 brought a lot of fun things for me and especially in working with David. I've been working with David Roche now for a full year and still raced on the track. I think breaking 31 in the 10K was huge for me. That's something that I've been wanting to do for so long. And it wasn't just making the world team or having a great Boston. It was just enjoying the process along the way. And I think that's something that I'm really thankful to be able to say at, 33, almost 34. So yeah, just super grateful. Grateful to be healthy heading into this year. And I think just stacking months and months and years of being healthy, knock on wood, is still the goal and just enjoying it. So 2025 was great. Did a little bit of reflecting, but I think you get excited for the year ahead. But it's definitely important to like take a beat and be like, wow, that was a great year. A lot of great things happened, but it's crazy. Time flies. I remember I was like at this point last year and I'm like, oh my gosh, what will like my second major bring? And what's Boston gonna be like? And now I'm well into my training block and, we're gearing up for round 2, so super exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you can do as well, and we're gonna talk more about Boston and that elite field is pretty crazy this year.
I
So
know. It's awesome.
sure, it must be a lot of fun for you to head into this block with the experiences or memories from last year and with that field.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. But then you are coming off a year where you placed eighth in Tokyo. Can you say something about like that experience and that feeling? It was pretty hot. You guys had some challenges that you might hopefully won't face in Boston this year, but you know, uh, I remember watching the race and obviously cheering you on and really excited for you. But how was it for you?
I had so much fun. I think when there are elements like there were in Tokyo with the humidity and the heat index and all of that, and figuring out, fueling in those conditions and being just in a different country and, trying to stay within the routine that you can, controlling what you can control. I had so much fun. I think it would have been easy to let the elements kind of get to you. I mean, we were there enough in advance where you could wrap your head around like, okay, this is gonna be it's gonna be pretty hard. But lucky, for me coming from Phoenix, the heat isn't so much a problem in terms of just like the mental approach. The humidity was definitely tough, but I had so much fun. I think in my mind, I wasn't I was just very calm going into a race, on the world stage like that. Granted, world majors are definitely, you know, world stage races, but I think having the experience and just really embracing it was super exciting. I think, having been in Paris for the Olympics and watching it, I'm like, wow, it would be so cool to race. Not on US soil and tackle it abroad, but I had so much fun. It was really hard. I think I kind of tactically did things that I've never done before in a marathon, just kind of like leading the pack and not just tucking in and hanging on for the first half or through 16 and then, kind of like banking as much energy as I can. So it was fun to test the waters. It was fun to finish a race and be completely spent. I think that's one of the first races in a while where I dreamed of the finish line quite a ways out. So it was really fun. Really, really hard. Susanna ran so well. It was unbelievable. And I think it was fun to really go for it and still make the top 10. I really wanted a top 5 or a podium, but I think I'm proud of the way I raced and I hung
Mhm.
on. But so many people had great days. It was so cool to then be there and watch the track, competitions and um, my other USA teammates, so it was awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, you raced this maybe in a different way that you have previously. How is it to like go into the championships with the experience from Boston? Because I'm sure you had a lot of confidence from that last marathon that you did, and now all of
Yeah,
a sudden, again on the world stage, the world championships. What is that like?
I think I definitely got confidence from Boston, but again, it was doing executing a race in a way that I'm super comfortable doing, as comfortable as running 26.2 is, but I think yeah, I think it was more so just, I'm finally, like, not questioning if I belong anymore on the world stage. I spent so long, like, wondering if I even, could be competitive, on the world stage, not even the world stage, like, just in general, and I think now I'm just confident in my ability to, execute and, like, feel out a race in the moment. It's funny because a lot of my calls with David before races, it's not like, "Okay, if it goes out like this, let's respond in this way," or, "If this happens," it's just, like, him telling me to trust myself and reminding me of the training that I've, stacked, on each other or on itself, and I don't know, I think that's a very cool way to go into a race, like, knowing that I trust myself, my coach trusts me to feel out a race and, um, go with the pace if it feels right or hang back if it feels right, so, yeah, I think it's just everything's kind of compounded, a really great coach-athlete relationship, years of healthy training, more experience, I think it's just stacking on itself, and it's really cool to see how it's, I don't know, evolving, but
Mhm.
there's so much to learn still. Like I think I have quite a ways to go before, 2028 where I'm like, man, I get this distance for sure. There's chunks of the race where I'm really confident and then there's points where I'm like we've got plenty of work left to do, which is good. I think it's good to know what some of your weaknesses are. So, yeah, it's been really cool to just trust myself more and know that, the race instincts and the racer is there. It's just getting to the line healthy and, um, yeah, trusting myself in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of those things that like when you're talking about this in the last time we talked,
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about how you've been like a full-time athlete and that didn't really work out so well for you in terms of like for
Yeah.
your well-being. I guess like it works better for you to have a job on the side and other things to do, and obviously based on social media it seems like you're busier than ever. But is that the case, or are you still at the same, like, do you still have the same situation where you work just as much as you did last year, or have you changed anything?
That's a great question. I've definitely shifted things around a little bit. I'm still with both foundations, the two nonprofits that I work with here in Phoenix. But just by nature of, how last year went, as, one of the organizations just had a tough year. It's really hard to raise money and, have a ton of success every year on the fundraising front. So we just, by nature of that, have to back off on a few of our events this year, as we kind of like recalibrate and invest in a few other programs that are a little less like of a lift in terms of event planning and time on feet. So just by happenstance, this year will be a little less effort in terms of like the lift I'll have to do on the weekends and the day after long run or the day before long run. So it'll be really good to just focus on more so like the business development side and the fundraising side. Um, so still the same amount of work. It's just different in terms of like how I'll be executing day to day. More working from home and hybrid life, which is good. But I definitely came into this year, thinking about Brooks and thinking about 2028, and there's just I owe it to myself and I owe it to the people who've invested in me and are in my, like on my team to really go all in and make sure that I stay healthy. And 2 years seems super soon, but it's also like so much can happen. So long, winded answer there, but same. I'm still working in the nonprofit sector, just a little less of like the heavy lifting in terms of events
Yeah.
and stuff, which will be good.
So does that mean that you're able to slip in a little bit more every now and then? Because when we talked last time, and I thought a lot about this, because every now and then I've had to do some early workouts or early
Yeah.
runs. I'm fortunate enough, and I have the opposite problem of you, I guess, like living where you're living and me living in Norway, where
Uh-huh.
it's
Like
so cold. So
opposite.
I have to wait for it to be a bit warmer so I can get out while you are.
Uh-huh.
You have to get out early so it's not too hot, but.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember you talked about these super early morning runs at 4:30 or something like that. Is that still like a part of your everyday life and on your runs?
Luckily not right now. The weather's it's my favorite time of year. It's like low of 50 degrees and with work, I usually have like my late morning or lunch hour free. So I've been doing a lot of my steady runs and easier runs later in the morning and I love like getting up. I usually just wake up at 6:30 anyways, and I'll tackle my emails and tackle work and then get a decent amount of work done, just like admin easy stuff and then go out for a run. Workout days, I love to just like get it done early. I don't love to have it like looming above my head and, I never know how the workday will go and it's nice to just like know it'd be the first thing I do in the morning and I work out once a week. So I do, a really quality workout early on a Wednesday typically and then long runs I'll meet our squad here usually around like 7 a.m. right now, but that time gets earlier as it gets hotter. Uh, and then this year, I would say the biggest thing in 2025 that I was able to do, lucky enough, was to get out of Phoenix in the summer in the super, super hot months, like July through August up until the world champs. I went up to Flagstaff, which was
Hmm.
great. I hadn't done, an altitude stint in years, so that was tough, but super lucky to have been able to just get out and sleep past 4 AM,
Yeah.
through the summer months, but yes, I would say March will probably be no, April's great here too, but May is when it starts to get warmer and, I'll probably have to get out the door pretty early for the workout days, but I don't mind 1 or 2 days a week of that.
No. No.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I feel like that is another proof of true dedication for sure.
It's not it's something it's like a muscle you strengthen. It gets a little easier to wake up earlier. It's kind of hard this time of year because then I'll have like, the 2 or 3 days where I'm waking up later and then the workout day, I'm like, you're kind of already jazzed up about it because it's a workout day. And then the night before, you're like, oh man, the alarm clock's going off like 2 or 3 hours earlier. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something really cool about hitting the track or roads before the sun's up and it's like quiet and you see the sunrise and I love it. The other morning I had a track workout kind of up at a track up against like the North Scottsdale Mountains here. And it was just really cool. The sun was coming up and then you could just hear like a ton of coyotes howling. And I'm like, this is cool. I would have missed this if
Yeah.
I didn't, obviously if I slept in, but just silver linings. Glass
Mhm.
half full. You gotta frame it a certain way. Get
But
yourself
but
out
but
the
I
door.
but as a filmmaker, when you are describing this, I'm like, oh my God, those shots would be so nice. And uh, I remember
Yeah.
last time you were talking about how big of a fan you were of Clayton Young's YouTube series.
Oh,
Have
yes.
you
I love.
have you ever considered doing something like that yourself? Because I feel like
Um,
so many of your morning runs would be beautiful and cinematic.
I mean, it would be cool. I think it would be really awesome, and I think I'm more open to you see the Instagram is basically like the highlight reel, and I try to be a little more, I don't know, truthful with, how hard the hard days can be, and not everything's always easy, and the trajectory is never just a straight linear line. But I don't know. I think I some of my a lot of my days of running are just like so sacred to me where I'm like, man, I don't know if having a camera there would keep it fun.
Mm-hmm.
But there are parts of it where it's like it'd be so cool to showcase like how special it is to train in Arizona. I think people just think it's desert and it's hot and it's not beautiful. I love the desert. I grew up here, so I'm a little biased, but you're starting to see more groups come here to get out of the cold weather months and do training stints here. And I think people are starting to discover it, as a great place to be and train in the winter. So I mean, maybe I would never say no. I'm kind of a yes girl, so I'd probably try everything.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I would have loved to follow that. So I hope you'll do that at some point. But what you mentioned there, I think, is it's a nice segue because one of the things that and I've texted you about this previously too, and we talked about it before we started chatting. You've been very open about things on your Instagram, like freezing your eggs, for instance, like things that I feel like, and we don't have to talk a lot about that if you're not comfortable doing that, but it's more like just like what you touched on of being
Mhm.
open about the things that are not necessarily so easy to talk about. And I'm
Yeah.
curious about how, like, what is your motivation to do that? Because personally I appreciate it a lot. Like, for I was telling my fiance, I was like, it's amazing, look what's possible to do. And like, if you're not
Yeah.
ready to have kids yet, or if you're a situation like yours where you are uh, pursuing your dreams athletically and then having that option, and it's so nice that you're sharing that. So like, what is your motivation to do that? Like, not
Yeah.
to freeze your eggs, but to share about it.
Well, I'm an open book, so I would answer both versions of that question. I think, even having that's something that I've been honestly thinking about and kind of like struggling with a little bit the last few years. I went into 2024 Olympic trials, like honestly thinking like this will be a great way to finally toe the line at an Olympic trials, doing it my way and really enjoying it, and then I can move on with my life and you know, tackle the next what most people would think are just the next steps you do as, a married person working a job. It's like, "Oh, we'll have kids and I'll, work my way up whatever corporate ladder." And it's just so funny that yeah, I just feel like that race completely changed everything. And then I kind of had like the struggle of, oh my gosh, like a lot of my friends are having kids and it seems amazing, but I just definitely don't feel ready for that. And part of it too is like I had to work really hard to get my body to the point where um basically where it just like it just feels strong and super healthy, and not that like that would change anything. I guess you just don't know, but there were just a lot of things lifestyle wise and which could sound selfish. Like I just love being able to wake up and make decisions for me right now and what's best for my health and well-being and my training. And my husband started his own business in the construction sector a few years ago, and that's been really hard. So we're just not at the point where kids make sense for us yet. And but it was like a ping pong match going back in my head, like, oh my gosh, well, when is the right time? Will I ever feel ready? And then, I've had a lot of friends going through their own journeys with IVF and family planning. And honestly, like I had barely thought about what I could do until they were more open with what they were going through, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's an option, like egg freezing, and, you can take it to the next level and freeze embryos." But for me, the first thing was to, like, just get a lay of the land. I'm like, "I have no idea what my status is, so let's just, do testing and figure that out, and then discuss options and all that." So a lot of it is just, like, fact finding, and, like, you spend so much time growing up, like, mm, thinking about all the ways to not start a family before you should,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
get to this point and you're like, "Okay, but, like, what are the options? And, like, what's the best way to do this?" Um, so it made the most sense for me, and then in terms of sharing it, it feels I'm still at the point where I do social media and marketing for, smaller organizations and, like, other companies, and I love that, but for me, like, certain things still feel weird and, like, not icky, but I just had this, like, gut feeling where I'm like, "I feel like I should share this because I knew nothing about this going in,"
Mhm,
especially as an athlete. I'm like, "How cool would it be if, younger athletes knew this was an option when they were, like, 26 or 27, and
mhm,
they don't feel like they have to be in a relationship or meet the right person in order to plan," you know what I mean? So
mhm.
and I'm 33, like, relatively speaking, it's a fine time in my life to do that and have it be successful, but, I was more so sharing it because I didn't know anything before it, and, it's tricky fitting it into your training and racing schedule, and, I honestly, like, I chickened out a few times. I was gonna do it after, I think, New York, and then I just fully chickened out and didn't wanna do it, and then was gonna do it earlier, and then I'm like, "Okay, we're just gonna do it after Tokyo." So yeah, I landed, and 2 days later, I started, taking the injections, which was the jet lag and the exhaustion is can't don't recommend that, but, it was fine. You get through it. I had an abnormal experience with, being administered medications that just made me, kind of I was technically, like, overstimulated, which isn't super fun. You just basically, like, take on a lot of excess fluid, and it takes a while for your kidneys to process it out, so I was just very uncomfortable for, like, 10 days, but all in all, it was, like, worth it. I bounced back really quick. I was able
Mhm.
to run, the first 4 or 5 days on the front end, but I've had a lot of people reach out since then, and it's been really cool to be able to just, like, talk to people over messages and, give them peace of mind, and kind of, like, give them advice on things that I definitely didn't do well for myself. Like, I didn't ask any questions. I was like, "Okay, these are the drugs I got. I'm just gonna put them in the vials and, blah, blah, blah," and I am like, "Oh my god, why didn't I ask, like, any questions? Like, why didn't I ask why I'm being administered these? Like, why did they choose these?" Um, so I've just been sharing, like, things I would have done differently, which has been cool. But yeah, I'm just also an open book. A lot of things I obviously don't share, but there's certain things where I'm like, I feel like this would be helpful for other people to know, especially in our sport where it's like our bodies are are our, like, vehicle for everything. So
Yeah.
it's a lot to think through. Yeah.
No, but I do think a lot of people will appreciate it, and it's like feel like you said it yourself that Instagram tends to be this highlight reel of everything that
Yeah.
is well and nice. And although that is also like fun to follow, it's nice to get some of those things that people are not really talking about. And I'm sure to a lot of girls or women, it's very liberating and nice that you are sharing that. It makes it easier for them. But also,
Mhm.
like, we're the same age. I'm also 34 this year. We have a
Yeah.
life where it's just like it doesn't really make sense to have kids right now. We're not ready for that. But
Yeah.
also, like, knowing our options, and if people don't talk about it, like, you don't go into a doctor's office if you're not really planning on doing anything, or if you don't know
Yeah.
the options. So you need to get that information from somewhere. And at least for
Mhm.
me, uh, I don't know how many other men like have told you that, oh, I really appreciate that, but I
Oh, thank
honestly
you.
did. I thought that was great. I was like, okay, that is nice to know, like, because it makes it easier to not have, like, we don't have to make that decision now. Like,
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
so I appreciate that a lot.
Oh, well, thank you. I did actually have a few men reach out, which was really cool. And they were just like, "Oh, I just don't know how to be supportive." Which is it's like a hard position to be in as like the partner, or the dude in the relationship, because like my husband had no, I mean, there were points where I was just full hormonal psycho, because I mean, your body's just getting overdriven with like all these
Hmm.
injections and hormones, and poor guy was trying his best to help, but I was like I it's hard because it's like, it's my body, and but you're making a decision on behalf of like the unit, so it's tough, but, I also had people reach out that went through it and gave me advice, and, people in the sport that I had, like, you don't know what silent battles people are going through, and I had a few other women in the sport reach out sharing about their experiences, which is really great. So yeah, I think it's, I really appreciate other, athletes in sport sharing their experiences. It took me a while to research. There were a few other women, across different sports that had gone through it, and I found blogs, and I was just going down rabbit holes, trying to just fact find for anybody that had gone through at least like the unique situation I did. And I found a few, but I just wanted to share in case others, which I hope not many people go through it, but, just in case somebody does, they know they could
Hmm.
reach out, and I truly am an open book. So I've had a few people, we've chatted back and forth, and I think most of the other women who've gone through it have had pretty smooth experiences. So anybody listening, it's like very rare to not have a pretty smooth experience with it. So, yeah, but very cool that it's an option for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
And another thing that you've been sharing, we touched on this like briefly in our conversation, was your husband and his running, because he's also become
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Yes, he qualified for Boston too, so he'll be
I
racing.
saw.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. Like a year ago, he was barely, I think he was lining up to race the Black Canyon 50K, which is happening this weekend here, and it's a trail race in Arizona, and he was like pretty undertrained and not experienced on, trail racing at that point, and it didn't go super well. I think he had to pull out at like the third aid station or something with his hip, but yeah, just thinking of, like, where he's come a year from then is amazing, and it was fun. One of my best friends and I paced him, in a marathon to BQ, which was great, but it's hard because there's, like, so many moments where and one of my best friends trains him too, so I'm like, he's in such good hands, but there's certain things where I feel like I'm like, "Oh," I've learned all my lessons the hard way, and I wanna prevent him from doing
Yeah,
that, but then there's just it's like, "Nope, you just gotta let the let him fly the
needs to
nest,
learn them
figure it
himself.
out." Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think he's feeling good. Yeah, we're both gonna line up in Boston, which is super fun, and I think he's got a few people that he's coordinating with, in his, like, wave, so it'll be great.
cool. Because what was it that he ran? It was very fast.
Yeah, he ran, like, 2:47 or 2:48, I think.
Oh, so we're the same now then. I also did
That's
247
awesome.
this fall, so we'll probably be in the same area when we're starting in Boston.
Oh, that's great. He's also got a mustache, so you guys are
Okay,
two of the
nice.
same.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
yeah, that's really cool. We're gonna talk more about Boston. Two things before we do that. We talked about Brooks last time, but I feel like
Mhm.
2025 was a good year for you, but also for Brooks, and like
Yeah.
seeing now, especially last week's, all the new products that they came out with.
I know,
Uh,
it's crazy.
yeah, can you just say something about what it's like being a Brooks athlete now? Because I feel like it must be such a cool thing to be a part of right now.
Yeah, it's honestly been awesome. It's been very different than my first experience, but it's so cool to see how the brand and honestly, like, the product has evolved too. We just had a little Brooks, uh, racer camp out here in Phoenix a few weeks ago with, like, the road racers and, men and women were out here. We had product teams, so apparel and footwear, and we did some testing. Uh, so it's just really cool, like, every year you see how much more Brooks is investing. I mean, in the athletes, yes, that's super important, but, like, in the like, making just really good product, it's really cool to be a part of, like, the feedback process, more so for, like, the racing shoes, which is great, but, like, I feel like the shoes have I have my tried and trues that I feel like have evolved over time a little bit, but, like, are so great and have remained my staples. Like, even when I wasn't sponsored by Brooks for those 2 years, I was still, choosing to buy the same Brooks shoes because I love them so much. And our apparel, I don't know if anybody listening has checked out the new spring line at Brooks, but the new apparel lines are amazing. The best that, I've seen from Brooks yet in terms of apparel. So it's really cool to see a shoe company that's just been, I think, a lot of people's favorite for so long, but now it's the evolution. You can see it really happening like in real time.
Hmm.
And we're always helping the teams with product for like 2027 and beyond, and it's cool to know like what might be coming down the line, but everything is so good right now. And then just as a company, it's yeah, like I'm working with a lot of the same people that I knew at headquarters, back in 2016 to 2018. And for me, it's a really cool thing to see like the retention and the people sticking around and like wanting to remain a part of Brooks as a company and a culture, and they believe in what they're doing. And then to see some people, who were some of my old teammates on the beast, like Garrett Heath was, a teammate, and now he's director of sports marketing. Like that's
Hmm.
pretty kick ass. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It's just everything is great. And it's been a really awesome partnership. And I'm super grateful to Brooks for like just continuing to like meet me where I'm at. Um, but also my teammates, like, we're all so different and we approach the sport so differently and our personalities are so different, but then when we all get together, it's like they really try to create a few days where, we can just connect and feel like a true team, so then when we travel to these world majors and other races, like, we do feel like a team. Like, I'm
Yeah.
speaking for myself, but, it's just really cool to walk in knowing that you've got teammates there and amazing people at the company, like, at the Hyperion House and at the cool activations. And yeah, so all good things. Really stoked to, continue um my career in the Brooks shoes and singlet, and I'm super proud of it. So it's been great.
Yeah, and I feel like I keep repeating myself on this, like the team culture that, at least from the outside, and like you're describing as well,
Mhm.
it seems very unique with Brooks. And then in
Yeah.
addition to that, Amanda and you are now both coached by
Uh-huh.
David. And
Yeah.
what does that mean for you? I'm sure that will kind of just enhance that team spirit, or like for you guys to train together makes it easier somehow.
Yeah, it's whenever we're together and we've been trying to sync up for maybe like a few weeks in the summer or something down the road, to just train together. But she's one of those athletes where I mean, she's so talented, and I just feel like from the moment that I first raced her, I just knew she's somebody that's gonna be, like, on the world stage for quite some
Hmm.
time. And I think with David, I think Amanda had reached out and was just like, "Hey, things were going on with, the group that she was with for quite some time," and, she just asked for advice and, thoughts on next steps. And then she's like, "Oh, like, how's everything with David been going?" And so we kind of connected on that, and then I shared, one of their numbers with the other, and they connected, and it seemed to have been like a really good, they hit it off from the get-go, which is awesome. But I think with Amanda, we're also very different. Like I know she excels and feels more confident running more mileage, and I'm definitely more low mileage for the marathon. But it's cool to see a coach be able to like truly tailor a plan for athletes, and it can look really different. Like she does more treadmill running. And if watch any of his videos or know anything about how he and Megan train, like they do a ton of uphill treadmill running and
Yeah.
crazy things down in their like sweat dungeon, whatever they call it.
Hmm.
But and I'm not so much a treadmill runner. I'll pretty much do anything if my coach tells me to do it. But it's cool to see him like just coach 2 very different athletes. And we'll probably sync up for a lot of races this year, which is great. But she's somebody where it's like for sure watch out in 2028, but like
Yeah.
2032 and beyond. She's so talented. Um, and I see a lot of like things in her where I'm like, man, I wish when I was 26, like I had that figured out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
She seems super reflected. That's the thing that
Yeah.
I like when
Very
I talked to
thoughtful.
her.
Mhm.
It was just like so clear that she was going places,
Yeah.
and at that age, and that was just after New York too.
Mhm.
That New York
Crushed it.
marathon was just amazing.
It was so amazing. She did so well there, and I think that's such a huge testament to the kind of athlete she is because it's my first time racing in a world major was New York, and it was pretty tough. Like, I think it was all kind of overwhelming for me, and, I just it was just a hard day, and I think for Amanda, she just embraced it all, and she's not scared to put herself in it, and she's an athlete that I think trusts it took me a long time to get to the point where I am now that I'm, like, confident in my racing and in myself, and she's somebody where I'm like, "Okay, she's leading the Olympic trials on the track," from, like, like, she
Mhm.
just goes for it, and
Yeah.
there's something with, like, that crop of athletes like Taylor Rowe and like they're just they're such racers and competitors and it's so cool to see.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like lost that fire a little bit when I was their age and it's really awesome to see,
Mhm.
women who have such a long road ahead of them be able to like make such a mark already in the sport.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of you doing that now, and I think it's been so much fun over the last year for me as well, like getting to know the running community more, and especially
Yeah,
you guys. And yeah, I'm very excited for the future of
I
American
know.
running because it's really bright, I think.
It's super bright. Yeah. It's so good.
Last thing that I want to ask you about before we start talking about Boston is that you pretty recently announced, or you and Garmin, you announced a
Oh,
partnership.
yeah.
And and the reason I want to ask you about it is that 2025 kind of ended up, for me at least, being a year where I tested a lot of things, whether that was shoes or watches, whatever. And recently, I kind of just got back to Garmin because I feel like it's more premium. There's something about Garmin that I'm like, okay, I like that more than any of the other products that I've been trying out.
Yeah.
Uh, and I know that you've been loyal to Garmin regardless of this partnership. So you've been wearing your Garmin for a long time, and now you announced this partnership. What does that mean to you? And like, can you also say something, because this is obviously a very genuine partnership? So can you say something about what it is that you like about Garmin as well?
Yeah, I think one of my first watches, I think I went from like a Timex to like a light blue baby G watch I had like all through high school. And then like the next step up of like my first GPS watch was a Garmin. So it's I don't know, it's like something like it feels familiar. Obviously, like I've been in Garmin Connect. Like I'm not a Strava person. David and I just have like a Google Sheet, Excel thing that I literally just it's like a log. I just type in how I felt, how it went, blah, blah, blah. Um, but Garmin has been the only like true data side of running that I've like really I don't know, like I've just become more familiar with it and I'm okay with like that platform of capturing data and splits and all this stuff, heart rate. So I've been super familiar with it. I've used Garmin Connect for forever. I remember I had to go back in there once I re-signed with Brooks and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to change my profile photo." It was like a college photo, I think. So I just like I know I've been in there for so long. But there's just something like just the quality of the watches too, like, just like it's not that they're heavy, but it's like you feel it and you're just like, "Damn, this is like a quality product." You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I
And there's
do.
just so much about it too that I use off the run. Like tracking sleep used to stress me out, but once I got my new Garmin runner or Forerunner, I wore it for like the first 10 days to 2 weeks just to like track my sleep because I'd never done it before. And that was super interesting to like gain those insights. And then I just started taking it off for sleeping because I can get a little like screwy with that stuff. I'm like, I don't need to know
Hmm.
too much. Um, but yeah, the team at Garmin seems amazing. The roster, obviously, they had, M. Sisson, Kira D'Amato, amazing athletes on their roster that I really admire. Courtney Frericks. Yeah, it's very cool to join a team that invest in great people. And I think just in chatting with Garmin, it was like just very natural and it's a very like fluid, easy, from what I can tell, partnership where it's like they're already looping me into the fold with, events for this weekend for Black Canyon. And I'm just really excited. I think at this point in my career, I would rather partner with like fewer brands that I know would just be really amazing to be, um, you know, on this journey with together than
Mhm.
just having like a bunch of of partnerships where I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like home. I've been a Garmin athlete, at heart for quite some time, and I think I sent Garmin running multiple DMs over the last few years, and I didn't hear back, and I kept shooting my shot, and I'm like, "Hey, it's me again. I just ran my second world major, and I think it went pretty well." And finally, I think we made the connection, and it was great. But I'm super excited.
Yeah, I love that, and I totally agree with you. I'm not gonna mention other brands, but there are some brands that I've been trying, and it's like a lot of it is it's good, but it's that
Yeah,
premium feeling that you get with Garmin. That is something that, and in some ways it feels silly to be focusing on like just that it looks premium, but there's something about that that I still appreciate.
yeah. No, and there's great watches on the market for sure. I think I had tried Koros for a little bit. I had a Suunto watch for there was one point where I had a Garmin watch that just ended up dying because I had it for so long. And then, the Beasts, I think we had, like, some sort of Suunto partnership for a little bit, so I tried a Suunto watch. So I've tried I think it's important to try, other
Mhm.
products, but it's like every time I did, I was like, "Man, I just wanna put my Garmin back on my wrist," you know?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm really stoked. I I will never, like, throw away my Garmin 245 because it's, like, my favorite, but I have the Forerunner 570 now, and then they sent me a
Mhm.
Forerunner 970, which seems like crazy tech. I just need to, like, sit down with that watch at some point and just go through it, but the 570 is, like, the perfect next step for me to ease into, like,
Yeah.
the techie side of of tracking for running metrics and everything.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's cool to hear your perspective on this as well, and um, I'm sure like now heading to Boston, you'll get to use those watches quite a lot.
Yeah.
Really bad segue into this, but
I
this
don't
episode,
understand.
like like I told you, it's a part of this Boston series that I'm making,
Yeah.
and you obviously you were the best American female in Boston last year, and so you do know, although like you said beforehand, that you need to learn more about the course yourself to be like 100% familiar with it. But I guess like your results from last year kind of speaks for themselves in terms of knowing the course a little bit and how to prepare for it. And
Mhm.
the first thing that I wanted to ask you about, and that is you touched on your mileage, because last time we talked, you were talking about your mileage being like your peak mileage between 70 and 75 miles, was it?
Yeah, I think I'd gotten up to, like, 80 or 82 a few times, but I
Yeah.
typically, like, last year was leveling off around, like, 70 to 75 for the most part.
Yeah. And then
Um
I saw last week or the week before you had one of your highest mileage week ever or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was it was fun to, like, kind of get that week under my belt and came out the other side feeling pretty good, but it was one of those weird weeks where I did this, like, all-comers high school race in Arizona. It was like a mile on the track, and then I did a 3,200 after. And that was, like, late on a Saturday, so I didn't end up long running that weekend, and it was a week where I had, like, pretty much 2 long runs in 1 week, so, and I didn't take a day off, so easy way to get to
mhm,
90 miles.
mhm,
But yeah, it was awesome to finally, like, I don't know, hit hit 90 and feel good. Not that that's been, like, a target or a goal of mine, it just naturally happened, but, I would say I'm averaging, like, 80 now.
yeah,
David's kind of incorporated just a few shakeouts a week, but they're usually always optional. It's like, do it if you feel good.
mhm,
And I'm like, what does feel good mean? Just
yeah,
is optional actually optional, but it truly is. And there's some days where I'm like, you know what? I actually do feel like getting out the door for a 3 mile, lap around the canal segment that I live on. So yeah, I would say I average about 78 to like 82 now.
yeah,
And I feel pretty good. Yeah.
cool. And for this, like you can talk about this marathon block or last year's marathon block, whatever you feel like is more suiting. But preparing for Boston, what is the most important thing for you and David approaching a race like Boston?
Yeah, I think honestly it's staying healthy. I like my log with him, his comments are just so great. Like I'll have a great long run or a great workout and it's like, okay, the body's in, a more vulnerable state now. Like let's really pay attention to see if we like how we feel waking up and like if there's any niggle, literally cross train. So I think it's just like really hitting the hard days well and then letting the body absorb it and adapt to it. I think last year's block went super well, but it was like my first true marathon build where I did pretty hard workouts. Like New York, I was still coaching myself and I was just doing a lot of things that felt good and that, I could wrap my head around. But Boston was like the first build with David where it was like, oh my God, these workouts are super hard. And they were like daunting before. And I think just having two builds now under my belt with him, with workouts that on paper used to kind of scare me. Um, I just did one this weekend where it's like 4 by 2 miles in the middle of a long run where I start quicker at like half marathon pace and then go into a marathon pace or effort mile. And that workout used to like scare the crap out of me. And this weekend I was just like, okay, we'll just take it, 1 mile, 1 rep at a time. And it's just experience. It's like same with marathoning. Like Tokyo, I felt comfortable taking more risks because I had, I had two world majors under my belt at that point. So I think with Boston this year, it'll be the field is insane. Like it's
Mhm.
basically like a
Yeah.
US championship, like in a, like world major marathon. It's gonna be crazy. But the cool thing with like where I'm at now is like I'm just focused on competing. Which is so fun to get to a race and just race. Like I think
Yeah.
my time I had no idea what time I was running in Boston last year. And, when I crossed, I was like, I had no idea I was running under 2:23, and I think it was just fun to be a racer. So we'll also incorporate just a lot of racing. I'll do a little local 10K. Well, not little Mesa. It's the Mesa Marathon. They have a 10K and a half marathon. So I'll race a 10K here this weekend. Get back on the track for a 10K. I'll do the half marathon road champs here in Atlanta. So I think a lot of it too is just incorporating racing into the training blocks and like just using those days to like truly race.
Mhm.
So yeah, not much has changed from block to block, just a little bit more mileage. And now I can like add a little bit more intensity. And I know I could squeeze a little bit more in certain workouts because I just have done, two or three of these blocks now. And I just am a little bit more confident and I know the body can handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but approaching Boston, like for all of us, I think that especially if you come from, say, faster courses, a lot of
Mhm.
people who are trying to BQ, they will try to find like courses like CIM or Valencia,
Yeah.
whatever, just to try to run fast so you can BQ.
Mhm.
And then you get to Boston, it's a totally different course. So the way a lot of us at least will approach the training a little bit different. Maybe you'll do some more hills in your training or
Mhm.
downhill runs. Like
Yes.
what is your approach to this? Are you changing things a lot, say, compared to running in Tokyo where it's more flat?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's people, like look at Phoenix and they're like, there's no hills in Phoenix, but we have some really good. We're kind of like located in a valley and we have three local mountain ranges that are kind of in town here. So my group, we have loops that kind of go around those really good hills. Like it's luckily I grew up here and I just know where all the good hills are. So I think for me, it's just getting a little bit more creative with it. Like maybe getting the legs tired and then doing hill repeats or hill sprints and some downhill running at the end of a run on tired legs. Strengthening the downhill muscles are definitely important. I think that's something I actually did pretty well with in my block last year, but it's something I look forward to like really incorporating a little bit more this year. But yeah, I like not honestly, not much will change. I think I'll just be able to do a little bit more. Like instead of doing 4 or 5 of the longer hill reps that I do, maybe I can do 6 this year. maybe do a little bit harder effort on the downhills back, instead of like more of a jog and letting the body recover. It's like, okay, maybe we can kind of push the downhills a little bit more now. But
Hmm.
I do like hill sprints every week after one of my runs. I'll do longer hill reps after some long runs, or pseudo long run days. So there's just like little things I'm noticing that he's incorporating more, which is cool because you can
Yeah.
see, it's just like little shifts and changes in how the body adapts over time. But it doesn't make it any easier. It's
No.
still tough, but yeah, but it's fun just to like iterate a little bit more because there's a few workouts too that I'll have the same as last year, and it's hard to like not be in a comparison, mindset with yourself. Like last week I had 10 by 800 on the track, which is one that I had basically at the same time last year. And I was like, "Oh, I bet I averaged so much faster this year." And it was like point 6 seconds faster, which I guess I'll take. But yeah, I don't love to like compare over time because I just think there's so many things that have evolved and changed. But it's nice to have like benchmarks too to check in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A- And I'm interested in knowing more about what you were saying about that almost specific training for downhill
Mhm.
running, because that is a question that I've been getting of like, how do you prepare for the downhill section so that your legs and quads are not blowing up by the time you get to the bottom of the hills?
Yeah.
Um, and like my answer has kind of been like, well, you just need to run downhill and
Mhm.
almost like try to make sure or pace yourself in a way where you're not going too fast, because I feel like that it's so
Yeah,
easy to go too fast. For you, obviously, racing, it's not probably not up to you how fast you're going, but
this is true.
if you were to like uh, say something about how to prepare for it, is there any
Mhm.
way, like in terms of specific training, that things that you could give advice on?
Yeah, like there's certain days that I also live pretty close to like a hilly loop route. Like there's days that if I have just like a steady mid long run in the middle of the week, like I'll do that on hills. Like my legs are pretty tired and I'll just, I won't look at my watch. I'll just turn my splits off and I'll just run. And I try to focus more, like, obviously on, like, really good form on those days too, because you're kind of more at risk if you're coming off a hard workout and then you're going to run hills the next day. But I'll run hills on tired legs a lot, and it's actually crazy to see, like, I remember when I was just getting back into actual training after the holidays, and I did one of the hilly loops around my house, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape, like, that was so hard." And then, like, 3 weeks later, I'm running, like a normal steady pace on them, feeling great. So it's cool to see how your body, like, adapts to it too. But I think downhill running is tricky because you also wanna make sure you're not, like, susceptible to injury or, like, you're having
Hmm.
good mechanics. Like, you don't wanna be, like, hitting your toes, like, as you're coming down the hill and, like, shuffling. You wanna have, like, proper, yeah, technique and mechanics running downhill. I think the cool thing with uphill is, like, it actually helps innately, like, to just hone in on good mechanics a little bit more, but downhill is, like, it's a little more risky, but, I think, yeah, I honestly, like, I just add in hills at the end of long runs some days. If David just gives me a steady long run, I'll just get, like, 6 miles of hills on the backside, and I'm just practicing running on hills on tired legs. That's kind of, like, the best way to do it. But I listen to his podcasts quite a bit, and, in trail running, it's like you have to train the downhill muscles in your
Yeah.
legs. So I feel like as trail runners, they literally do, like, downhill reps and, like, will focus on just getting downhill downhill running in. And that's something I think is really cool with David is he takes a lot of his experience on the trails and applies it to my training. Um, and I think I've gotten better at it, but that's something it's tough because you get the downhill portion at the beginning of the race with
Hmm.
Boston, and you have, like, the nerves and the excitement and the adrenaline and the start and all the people cheering, as the gun goes off and you're just, like, amped. But you really wanna, like, you wanna just be as calm as possible. It's okay to get out a little quick, but, that's the one thing last year I was like, "Just be in the pack, let's just make these like first 6 miles as truly easy as I can. And then, of course, there were like a few miles where some of the athletes, I think we dropped like a 5:08 out of nowhere. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, we're either going to go or not. And I think I ended up being more conservative on the front half, which I think saved me. But um, if it's your first Boston, I would give the advice to just be a little bit more conservative and like let the nerves wear off and like find your rhythm versus like, PRing for 10K.
Yeah. Yeah.
First 10K of the race. But it's so tempting because you do feel really good.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't feel like you it
Doesn't feel steep.
costs
Yeah,
no,
it's
and
like a
it's just
gradual.
like it just feels so good, and then you get like 4 miles and then you're like, "Why are my legs tired?"
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that
you hit
that
like
is difficult.
the first slide uphill and you're like, "Okay, the muscles, that I'm using are changing a little bit," and you can feel it.
Yeah.
But
And you can't
yeah.
use heart rate at all. I guess that is the thing too, because your heart rate will probably be lower than what
Mhm.
it usually would be at that pace. So if you are
Mhm.
used to looking at heart rate or pace, whatever, you're like, oh no, but this is fine. I'm going downhill. But then you forget that you're doing that repetition of downhill running for so long in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
Mhm.
and then you obviously have, like, the Newton Hills on the back half, which I got to that point last year and I felt really good. So they in my mind, they weren't as hard as I made them out to be, and maybe because it was
Mhm.
my first Boston, I just had, like, the expectation that they were gonna like, the Newton
Yeah.
Hills and Heartbreak was gonna absolutely take me out, and I got to the top of Heartbreak, and I was like I saw the big banner, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I did it." But
Mhm.
actually felt pretty good. Um, but you just don't know, like, the race could go out crazy fast this year, and I could feel not so great on the Newton Hills, but I feel like the more you can simulate the course, in terms of just, like, the hill placements and where they're at, like, in your effort, it doesn't mean you have to, like, go out for a 26-mile long run and start running hills at mile 15 to 18, but it's like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe if you have 6 to 8 miles of steady running under your belt when your legs are a little bit more tired, it's like, okay, let's, just try to get a few hills in there, um, to just get the body used to, like, making that shift after
Yeah.
some flat or downhill running. But I think hill strides, there's a few times, here and there where I'll do a steadier long run where I just like get quicker over the course of the run. And then he'll have me do like 5 by 45-second hills at the end of it. So you're just like hitting that system enough. Just little things like that you can incorporate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like obviously for you like we said, you are racing this, so it's harder for you to have a strategy for how to solve the course because you will probably try to just
Yeah.
be up there. But if you were to like say you were still able to control the strategy a little bit, what would your strategy be for the race, or like your, I
Oh
guess, like
gosh.
maybe easier to give an advice for people who are running, like your husband who's running Boston.
Oh god.
uh, that might be easier. Like he's running Boston. I'm sure he wants a PR, but it's a harder course than
Yeah.
maybe what he did his 247 at. And he's gonna go out. You know that there are downhill sections, and you know it's gonna be flat, and you know that he's gonna hit Newton Hills, and then he still has like a few miles or 5 miles left when he's up there, or maybe 6 miles.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't remember. Yeah,
Yeah, and you have a few more hills after the Newton Hills too,
yeah.
before you, like, really make your way into, Boston proper, but, um, yeah, I mean, for first timers running Boston, I think it's so fun too to, like, kinda buddy up, like, he's found a few people who are kind of in the same ballpark as him. The other cool thing I love about marathons, like, the smaller marathons I've done, like, you get to the line and you get in the corrals and, like, you're talking with people like, "Okay, what are you trying to run? What are you trying to run?" And it's really cool to, like, pair up with some people kind of tackling the same, like, goals or the same time frame. So I think it could be cool too to just, like, find some folks in your, like, wave that you can work with, but I also like, I know that the elites have a very different experience than the people who will come in the waves after us, like, you're navigating crowds, and it's like you're trying to get the waters and da 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 da, and you're carrying your gels, and we're very, fortunate as elites to like have stations and all these things that make it easy for us. So I think a lot of it too is like just practice like fueling and grabbing things. There's plenty of spots along my little routes here where I can like set a bottle on top of something. I never have somebody biking with me or handing me bottles. I kind of just get creative with it, and I'll set them out, on the canal as I'm long running. So I think just do things in practice that are going to give you confidence too to like navigate different things and different outcomes. But my advice with Boston is just do everything you can to like manage your energy output the first like 6 to 10 miles.
Hmm.
Um and pretty much with every marathon, it's like you're just so jazzed and you're stoked to be on the start line. Honestly, every most marathoners at this level will tell you like half the battle is just getting there healthy.
Yeah.
Um, but enjoy it. It's okay if you have a mile where things don't feel great. Pretty much every marathon I've done, I've had, 3 to 4 miles sprinkled throughout where I'm like, is this the day I thought I was gonna have? I don't know. But you really have to just like stay in the mile that you're in. Um, and if you feel good, take advantage of it, soak in the crowds, like just yeah, there's little tricks you can learn over time that um can distract you from from how you might be feeling in one of those tougher miles. But yeah, Boston, it's just so unique because you just don't know how. I mean, the weather, there's just so many variables too.
Yeah.
Like, what you just
Yeah.
don't know how the weather's gonna be, and, but it's like, yeah, just control the things you can control. Your fueling, make sure you have enough snacks and stuff with the bus and the traveling out there because it is a hefty drive. Make sure your clothing is good for the weather that day. Like, I would err on the side of having more clothes that you can strip and toss out, if it's cold. So yeah, just all those little things. Just, put some thought into it so then when you get there, you just don't even have to think about, the little things that are, in your control.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
cool. And the hills, we briefly talked about them, and it's maybe more the placement than the hills themselves.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about it in the last time we talked too, that both of us had the same experience of like, oh, they were not so bad. And I don't know about you, but I'm trying to now tell myself that they were not that bad, but don't think or believe that they're not bad, like heading into the
Yes.
race,
Yes,
because I
yes,
think that
yes.
if you do that, then
Mhm.
it also might backfire.
Mhm.
But uh, I'm curious about your take on how to solve them, because obviously in most races, like if you run flat races, when you get to that point in a normal marathon, you
Mhm.
will be like, okay, now I'm starting to really feel it. And
Yeah.
if I get a hill at this point, it might just throw me off somehow. And with Boston, we know that that you will hit the hills. So what do you do when you hit them in terms of effort, in terms of like just going into them? What is your advice?
Yeah, so I think it's like mile 15 or 16 where you
Yeah.
kind of like hit a sharp downhill in Lower Newton before you actually start to go up. And you said
Mhm.
it the best. Like if you took the hills out and just put them like in your hometown, like where you run, you'd be like, okay, these hills are not that bad, but it's the placement of them because obviously like by mile 15, your legs are tired. You have 10 miles plus to go. Like you have a decent amount of racing ahead of you. Um, so it's the placement of the hills that's really tough because if you are having a tough day, you're likely going to to feel the pain on the hills. But I kind of like looked at it as gosh, I'm like trying to think back, like kind of like a crescendo. It's like you take like the first few climbs, at 16 there's a climb and then it's like right before 18 there's a climb and then heartbreaks like just before mile 21. So I think it's just like let it kind of crescendo. You don't need to like hammer the first hill. Um, Keep your eyes up. It's like you might have some people coming back to you. Like my whole thing was like, okay, use a benchmark. I think there were like people in the crowds that I was looking at, and it's like just get to that person instead of being like, okay, I'm counting the hills and I know the miles. It's like just use people either around you or maybe there's somebody kind of coming back that went out a little bit too hard. But I would kind of manage your efforts on the first few climbs. And then heartbreak, like once you get to the top of heartbreak, you have obviously like a solid downhill. Um, I think until like 20 oh gosh, I know there's another hill kind of near a cemetery. So
Yeah.
I had it in my mind where I'm like, okay, it's not over at Heartbreak, but like you should feel super excited that it's mostly over in
Hmm.
terms of the hills. Um, so I think it's just like take it one climb at a time. Like don't get to the first hill knowing that you have like 3 or 4 more and Heartbreak up ahead of you. It's like just take it one at a time and you're going to be fine. And if you have to like have a few steps where you back off and like try to get a deep breath and like regroup, that's okay. There were a few where I kind of like had moments where I'm like, "Oh man, I think that there were" it was right before Heartbreak, my fueling just felt like there was just something where I'm like, "Oh no." So I did have to take a beat going down one of the hills before Heartbreak, a little bit slower. Uh, but I mean, the race ended up going okay. And then tangents, like make sure you're taking, as much as you can with however many people are around you, like take the shortest path. That
Hmm.
was something that I noticed I did pretty well through Newton, where I was just running the tangent and running a little less than some of the athletes up ahead of me. So I was actually like gaining on them a little bit quicker. So, so yeah, another long-winded answer, but
No, but
the crowds
that's
are
great.
crazy too. Like the Newton Hills were crazy. I feel like there were the perfect amount of distractions. I run with music
Yeah,
a
I feel
lot
like
when I'm
you're
on my own.
lifted. They just carry up those
Yeah.
hills some
Yeah,
ways,
yeah. Oh, people are screaming at
unless you're
you.
cramping up.
Yeah, that's true. But, I run with music a lot when I'm on my own, and then it just felt like the crowds were so loud that I couldn't hear myself probably breathing super hard, and, like, there was the perfect amount of noise going on around you, to get you up
Yeah.
the hill, so just use all the momentum from the crowds too.
But do you have like specific things that you're thinking about in terms of your form? Like, because I remember I think I focused on like smaller steps at the top of the hills just to get some momentum, like get some speed with me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Are those things that you're focusing on?
I think it was more on the downhills, like, not overextending a little bit, the uphills, I've gotten a lot stronger, running uphill. I would say maybe I'm, like, taking shorter steps. Uh, I wouldn't think too much into that, but more so the downhills because my legs were just pretty tired. I think I just didn't wanna feel like I was over, like, striding. Like,
Hmm.
I kind of kept my feet underneath me, um, more like, quicker steps versus, like, let's get as much distance as we can, but who knows how it'll go this year. I might need to overstride if it's
But
falling.
it's very interesting what you're saying also about that, like after the Newton Hills, you still have some hills left. And like you said, I think it's
Mhm.
when we're running over that bridge just next to the Sitco sign in Fenway
Yes.
or something. I think
Yeah,
that's where that like
a little
and,
before
and
that.
and that again is like you said, if you went out for a run today, like an easy run, you
Mhm.
would probably not even consider that a hill. Like but it's also again like where you're at in the race.
Yeah.
That's where you really want to just lie down, right? Like you you are kind of dead, and you have a little bit of a hill over that bridge,
Yeah.
and so like with these hills, like whether it's that one and or the Newton Hills or the whole course, you were talking about fueling. So like, this is the last question I have for you, and it's just like uh, how do you solve the nutrition part? Because like what I find to be a bit more difficult is that when you hit the hills and if you fuel at the
Mhm.
wrong time or
Yeah.
you might be like, oh, I'm running a hill and I'm having a gel. That is not a good idea because then you're focusing on two things that or you're out of oxygen and you're eating, so you're kind of doubling that minus oxygen kind of thing.
Mhm.
What is your advice on this? Like, where should you fuel on the course if you're carrying your gels with you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a one thing as the elites is, like, we don't really have a choice of, like, when we're grabbing them, like, our stations are just pretty much every 5K, um, and luckily, like, you get most of your nutrition like, the important nutrition is at the front end of the race, like, you wanna get all your bottles in and the gels that you have, like, obviously on your person or on your bottle down, in the first half or a little bit over the first half of the race. And I think I remember there were stations on or after whatever the hill portions where I would grab my bottles. For me, it's easier to like shoot the liquid stuff down on an uphill or a downhill. And then I just carried my gel until that kind of settled. And then I could um just like get some of my gel down over the course of a few minutes. Like I'm used to carrying as I run, so it doesn't stress me out
Hmm.
to like carry it for a few more 4 minutes or so. But yeah, I know it's tough. It's honestly like you just have to practice too. Like I think if you're running on hills for a long run or a longer effort where you would want to fuel, practice taking it, like maybe coming off a hill, seeing how that sits. I would say it's tough like taking it while you're going up just because like you want to have good form and propel yourself up a hill, and multitasking is
Yeah.
tough. But I also noticed that like my chest and my breathing is a little bit easier coming off, obviously you come up the crest and then you kind of like get your wits about you, but like I feel like you're more opened up and can breathe a little bit easier coming off a hill, at least in my opinion. So like getting gels down, getting any air out that you need to is important too. Um, but I would say just really focus on getting your fuel in on the first half of the race, and then feel out the hills and see when you can get it in, during the hilly Newton portions. But I don't even think I took my last bottle. I think I came off the Heartbreak Hill, and then oh gosh, I can't remember where our last bottle was, but I didn't even take it because I had hit all my bottles up until that point, and I felt good, and I honestly felt like it was gonna hold me back to grab it and get all
Yeah.
the stuff down. So, but that's a testament to like getting all the fuel in that I needed to,
Hmm.
the first 16 or so miles.
No, but I think that makes sense because I remember for myself at least, because for those of us who are not elite, you get gels just
Mhm.
after Heartbreak Hill,
Yep.
and I remember taking one like on that downhill just before you turn into Beacon Street and enter
Uh-huh.
Brookline, kind of,
Yep.
and I remember kind of throwing up in my mouth because I took it too soon after the hills. Because then
Uh,
I was really tired. My heart rate was high, and just the timing of that was so bad.
it's
So
tough.
that affected like the last 10K of the race because I was struggling with that. So I almost felt like I started feeling better when I had 2K left, right? Like because
Ah,
then I was like, oh, now I
and
don't
it
feel like I
settled.
have my gel up here.
Yeah, it's like stuck. I know exactly what you're talking about when it's like stuck here and you're like breathing in and you feel like you're gonna throw up in your mouth, and it's just
Yeah,
it's
horrible.
oh, yeah, what we do to our bodies.
Yeah, I know. That's when you start questioning, and that's exactly what what kind of thoughts you will have at that point of the race, I
Yes.
think.
Yes, but it's all about practicing, like, that's the hardest part is, like, really taking time to practice now.
Yeah.
We're the perfect amount of distance out where you're not gonna, like, screw up a workout or, like in my mind, like, a done workout is good. I don't
Mhm.
put a ton of pressure on myself to hit certain splits every workout. I obviously want my quality days to be quality, and they are meaningful for my training, but it's like you can also use your training to practice fueling, and that's just as important as, like, hitting splits that are, I don't know, prescribed or what in your mind you think you need to hit. But yeah, I would just practice long run fueling. I like to practice during workouts too when I'm maybe running like a little bit quicker than marathon pace because it's just training your gut still. Like I'll have some
Mhm.
10K workouts and I think I did yeah, in my 10 by 800 workout the other day I had jog rest and I took a gel in after the first 3 on my jog. And my stomach felt okay running 10K pace, having just taken a gel down a minute prior. So I think there's different ways you can incorporate fueling and testing, but yeah, practice makes perfect. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Or maybe
Yeah.
not perfect, but close enough.
Close enough. I think that's the thing for the marathon. As long as you're close enough, perfect, you I think it's hard
Mhm.
to get there.
Yeah.
But just thank you for everything that you shared today. Again, I really appreciate your time and your openness. And uh, I guess like what I have to ask you at the end here, what is your goal for the Boston Marathon this year with the field that you have with you
Oh,
there?
man. I mean, defending the top American spot would be amazing, but, I wanna think bigger than that too. Like, it is a stacked race. You have Sharon coming back. Um, it's really stacked up front, but the American contingent is, like, so impressive. So I don't know. I don't have, like, a time or I mean, podium is always, like, dream case scenario, and I think we're getting closer and closer to having an American on the top. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I think just stick to my guns. I'd love to take more risks this year and just um, trust myself a little bit earlier on in the race. Like I can't predict if there will be crazy moves, but I think up until Tokyo, I just was, more risk averse, and I was okay with letting people go earlier on, but I think I'm stronger than I was a year ago, so maybe testing myself a little bit earlier on in the race would be really fun, but yeah, I don't know. I we all wanna win, we all want a podium, the American women, we all wanna be top Americans, so it's like all those unspoken goals are there, but, I just wanna have the best race that I can on the day, so
Oh, I know that my first question when I cross that finish line is going to be, how did it go with Jess? And
well,
hopefully I can look behind me and see your husband being behind me. We'll see. I have to make an internal competition there too.
I know, you guys have to, I don't know if I need to, like, get
Yeah, you
contact
should
info for both of you, but
connect us, and then
for sure.
we can race each other.
But no, keep me posted on your training. I'm stoked that we'll all be in Boston. You should come out to one of the Brooks events. I'm
Oh, that
sure
would be fun. Yeah, for sure.
we'll have tons going on there, but, no, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jess, for coming back on. Really, really appreciate that. Can't wait to hopefully race with Jess's husband in Boston. And I'm also very excited to see how Jess will do. This was yet another great conversation with Jess, another great conversation about the Boston Marathon. I hope that you are enjoying these Boston series. There will be more episodes on this going forward, some more on how to fuel during Boston Marathon, and also some on just like how to solve the whole course with runners at not as high level as Jess. Thank you for listening to the Marathon Podcast. Next week, there will be a few guests on that I'm very excited to share with you. One of them is with Andres, who is an expert in HR, and we talked about heart rate in HR, as in heart rate. We talked about heart rate, we talked about zones and how to use that. There will also be a banter episode with the Indie Boys again. Can't wait for you guys to hear that, and a lot of other cool things coming up. If you haven't already, have a look at the marathon hat on the marathonpodcast.com that is supporting non-professional athletes through the Marathon Podcast sponsorship. Thank you again for listening. Have a great day. Enjoy your run and have a nice weekend. And happy Valentine's Day. You listen to the Marathon Podcast, brought to you by Wild Studio.